So good morning, everyone. Let me take a minute to introduce RISE. So RISE is an initiative from Women Who Code Hyderabad. So that means reboot, invest, scale, and empower yourself. So this is an initiative taken by Women Who Code Hyderabad to enable women on a career break to return to work. So the mission of Women Who Code is to inspire women to excel in technology careers, so that they can see a world where diverse women are better represented as engineers and tech leaders. So there is a code of conduct for Women Who Code. The complete code of conduct is available at womenwhocode.com/code of conduct. But a couple of points is like everybody gets an equal opportunity here at Women Who Code, irrespective of their demographic characteristics, physical appearance, political affiliation, or preferred programming language. And Women Who Code strictly doesn't tolerate harassment of members in any form. So please please adhere to all the policies at womenwhocode.com/code of conduct. So with this, I will hand it over to Nishant, the trainer we had even yesterday. So thank you, Nishant, for your time once again. Over to you.
Thank you, Nandini. So hi all, this side Nishant, and today we will be going through a quick recap of what we did in terms of web services and all those stuff, and then we'll be moving with the REST web services and how to develop and what's a REST and all those stuff. So that's the agenda for today. And then do stop me wherever you have a question about it, and so let me share my screen with you all, and let me start sharing. So basically I'm just giving you a quick recap of what we did in terms of web services. So basically web services is concept originated wherein when the distributed system comes into the picture, and the need of the time was how to communicate different type of heterogeneous system working in different global location with each other, because combining them into a one system, it would be a tedious task, costing, and it would cost a more in term of rupees, dollar, whatever it is. So to overcome that problem, the web services comes into the picture. So web services is kind of a one system or application can expose their business logic, which is running within their system, to external world with the help of an URL, so, and with certain set of guided rule. And with that, anyone in this world now, with the help of web services, can expose their internal functionality to be used by the external world, or they can, or multiple users. They can throw out the information and the things and so on and so forth. So that's a basic use of web services, and that's where it's originated. So that's what we discussed yesterday. There are different component attached to it when it comes to web service. Basically, the main requirement was because you can understand talking different, like it's on a real world, different people living in a different country and regions wants to talk to each other. So without understanding the other person language, you need some neutral language, and that's where the English comes into the picture. On similar ground, the heterogeneous systems talking to wants to talk to each other or wants to share information or distribute the data, they should be having some common neutral language, and that is where the XML comes into the picture. So XML is, you can think of it similar to the English for human, wherein every communication now and then it's happening using XML itself. Now there are multiple things, JSON also is there, but primarily XML is the standard form of communication between the two systems actually. That's not the nowadays, that's not a only one language. There are multiple languages. JSON is one of them, but the standard is XML. So we have different type of, we understood about two type of web services. One is SOAP, one is REST. We gone through the SOAP, which is Simple Object Access Protocol, and then its different component. One is WSDL, which is very important. WSDL is kind of agreement between the two services. Whenever there is a requirement for communication between the two system or the web services, we need this WSDL. It's a contract, or you can think of in real world, it's an agreement, just like you have rent agreement or maybe registry agreement. On similar way, we have a concrete, defined, well-defined WSDL, which we call WSDL. Now, in web service architects, there are three major component. One is the provider, just like a serving agent. The other one is the consumer, the customer, and the third one is the menu or maybe the service registry. So whenever there is a service published, it should be available within the service registry so that the other people or the world can get to know that okay, this type of service is available and I can use it. And then, sorry, then the service requester comes into the picture. They request something and they discover that particular service using the service registry, and then they can access the request the thing from the service provider. And to facilitate that, we have binding, find, and publish. So as the name suggests, when a customer wants to find, it should go to service registry. Then, if the service provider is wanted to update anything or add anything in their menu, they need to publish it to the menu. In this case, it's a registry. We call it as UDDI. And when now the customer want to order something from the restaurant, similar like the customer want to access some web service, they need to access that, and that is where the binding comes into the picture. So binding is nothing, it's you are calling that URL with a set of predefined rules which the service providers mentioned, and you need to pass or not to pass the data depending upon the web service, and get the data and get your work done. So that is where the publish, find, and bind come in the picture. The second one is next one is the SOAP. It has a different component. We will talk that in later mode of time. We implement that SOAP and REST services using JAX WS is primarily for SOAP implementation, and we implement by the RPC style or the documented style. JAX RS is for the REST services, and we generally use Jersey or REST Easy to implement the REST web services. SOAP is just like you can think of an envelope, just like an envelope. It's an envelope, and you put your postcard inside it, paste it, and then mention the head date, whatever the address and all those stuff. Similarly, for SOAP also, you can think of it's an envelope. It has an header where it will talk about the credentials, what type of complex types or data types it has, what are the schemas it is adhered to, and all those stuff. So that is where you can think of it's an address bar wherein you entered your address and everything on the physical postcard, and then it comes the body, and wherein you have all the content, and then it get transmitted from one place to another. WSDL we talked about. The UDDI is the Universal Descriptive Discovery and Integration, wherein it's a place where whenever there is a web service updated or newly created or added or deleted, whatever it's going, this is the place where the third party comes and look for that particular registry and get web service done. So this is a high level view of SOAP. So SOAP has envelope, header, and the body. And this is if you just relate it to the physical postcard letter, then you can relate it to this, that you have written something, you have an envelope, you put that thing body in that paper inside it, and then you mention the name and address to the designated. So similarly on the same concept, it's kind of you can understand the SOAP as well. So these are, and SOAP is very tightly coupled. When I say the tightly coupled, it has a very stringent rules to be followed when the SOAP comes into the picture, and that is where the payload for the SOAP request is high. But it's a more on the same side. It's a more validated document, and it can be used for more secure transmissions, just like withdrawing a money from the ATM, or maybe doing online transactions. So all those places, the SOAP can be used, and it is being used basically. Now today we will be more focusing on the RESTful web services. So what is RESTful services, and what does it mean? So REST stand for representational state transfer. So that's the short form. It's called then REST. REST is an architectural style, not a protocol. So that's a major one difference which people get confused most of the time. So SOAP is just like a protocol. It defined and it transmitted over HTTP as well. But REST is an architectural style. So architectural style, when it says, so it's an implementational way of implementing a web service for some basic uses and all those stuff. And as I told you that SOAP is more stringent, more secured. It has more payload, more things to get followed, and more validation, checker balance, and everything is there. So obviously, if you are doing so much of things, so it will be consuming more network bandwidth. It will be more time consuming. It will be it demands more effort to be get done. But in term of rest is just a plain thing. It doesn't do all those things. You can do obviously, but then on a basic side, it meant to be a very lightweight, always available, and wherever there is a caching thing is required, wherein you are not updating data so frequently, then on all those places we can use this REST web service. So advantage for this is fast. So why it is fast? Because RESTful web services are fast because there is no strict specification like SOAP. So as I told you, SOAP has a particular stringent guideline which need to be get followed. Otherwise, it will not work. On the other side, REST is doesn't have that much of specification that okay, this you need to do this and that and everything and so on and so forth. So it consumes less bandwidth and the resources to be processed. The second one is the language and the platform independent. RESTful web services can be written in any programming language and executed on any platform. So that's another advantage of it. Can use SOAP. RESTful web services can use SOAP services as an implementation. So they can use those SOAP services, as I told you. So we can use those guidelines to implement the REST web services. But then you are beating the purpose actually for that. But the scope is there. You can go ahead and implement in that way as well, and permit the data different data formatted. So REST has a whole lot of bouquet of languages through which it can be supported. It can through an output for output data in that format. So just like REST web services permitted data in format like plain text, HTML, XML, and JSON. So most of the time in nowadays we use JSON. Mostly the JSON is the standard way of getting the data, and the XML as well. So these are the two popular things wherein the REST output and the implementation can be done. So to implement REST APIs, we use sorry. So to implement that, we have the Jersey. Jersey is a library altogether, which help us to implement the REST API, REST web services. So Jersey is a reference implementation provided by Sun. So now they called as an Oracle because Oracle occupied this Sun for using Jersey as an Ajax RS implementation. All we need. 1 minute, sorry for that. Yep, sorry. So all we need to configure it as in servlet in the web XML. So just like because you have gone through the JSP and servlet, so we need to whatever the implementation in a Java class you are defining, you just need to mention in the web XML and the required dependencies, which is being provided by the Jersey itself, and it will be get done. So as an standard, it's not a part of JDK. Otherwise, it would have been an easier task to implement all those things. The second one is the REST Easy. It is being provided by JBoss for REST implementation. So we have generally in industry, we use these two things to get it implemented. Now we talk about the REST architecture. How does it mean? So the basic thing, what I explained before SOAP is the same concept. So you have a web service, like there would be a server thing, there would be a consumer thing. The consumer will ask something from the server. Before asking, it should get and check it in the registry, that is the menu. They can get it and then they can request it. So that is the basic concept of a web service that will play here also. But how different it's from the and what's the implementation part from the SOAP, that we'll going to discuss here now. So basically, REST stand for representational state transfer. REST is a web standard based architecture and use HTTP protocol, right? And that we discuss about everything. You can read it from here also. The important point here is like the how it is being what are the main component of it. So basically, REST basically they have four operation, you can say. They use those things majorly. One is get, post, delete, and put. So get is provide the read. So as the name suggests, so these are the protocols. These are the not the protocols. These are the methods internally provided by the HTTP protocol itself. So if you have ever created a form, so while creating a form, you have a get method or the post method in the HTML, so that how the data is getting transmitted. Get, obviously, if you do a get, you will see all the data transmitted in the URL. But in the post, you'll see the neat and clean URL in the browser. It will not be show up in the URL and all those stuff. And obviously, because there's a limitation, so get has limited data to be transmitted, but whereas in the post, it has good capacity, wherein it doesn't require anything and can send them more data in from the form itself. The delete is to remove a resource. Here we called as a resource. You can so that is where we every data which is coming we called as an resource, or the ID which we generally we use as an ID object and all those stuff. So we called that as a resource here. You can go ahead, and if you want to delete anything, you can use the delete command. And put is used to update the existing resource or create a new resource. So in MySQL database, there is an replace, or maybe in most of the languages also, there is an keyword called replace. So what replace will do? Replace will, if the row is not existed, then it will work as an insert command. Otherwise, if the rows is there, then that replace will work as an update command. On the similar path, the put is the same way it will do. It will, if the resource is there, it will update their existing resource. Otherwise, it will create a new resource for you. So it works on both the part. It's an easier way to do all those things. So we have these standard operations for REST actually. Now, talking about there is a few basic things which we need to understand from the REST perspective. So before that, we will talk about what is HTTP, and you need to understand about how the HTTP work, because it primarily work on the HTTP protocol itself. So we need. I'm just going through the HTTP protocol. So basically, HTTP has the method as we discussed in the previous slide. HTTP method suggests as in get, post, delete, put, and so on and so forth. There are a few others as well. Then comes the URI. Now, URI is the Uniform Resource Identifier. So whatever the URL you are seeing in your browser, so something like google.com, so that would be complete URI for discovering the particular URL. So that is where the URI comes into the picture. Then we talk about the HTTP version. So we have different type of versions. So earlier it was one, I think nowadays it's version 1.1 only, which is running in HTTP versions. Then request header. So request header, whenever if you have seen the output of this any of the browser. So when you do a request, so basically whenever you submit a form from a browser to a server, along with your data which you are filling, just like username and password, there are a couple of things which will get transmitted from your browser to the server as well, and that is where it comes as say as in header. So whatever the like the prerequisite thing you want to pass to the server, by default the browser will pass few of the things, but you can anyways update all those things, and you can send it back to server as well. So that is where we call it as a request header. It contains the metadata of the HTTP request message as in key value pair. For example, what is the client browser. So you have now most of the time nowadays might have seen that okay, you are using a IE browser, switch to Chrome for the better experiences. So all those things you can that can be census by the browser or the operating system itself, and it can be sent to um, the requesting server as well. Similarly, now the request body. So request body is the request wherein you are sending whatever the request you are asking from the server, you will send that thing from in the term of request body. And that is where we call it as a message or the content. So whenever you click on after entering the username and password and click on the submit button, that credential will become a body for that HTTP request. So majorly, I'm not going much into deeper about it right now because it would be more knowledge thing, and it will more require more time as well. But from this REST perspective, we need to understand that these are the major components. So we are in the URL, URI, and then we talk about the HTTP header and how the data is getting transmitted, and the 4 or 5 functions, which is methods, which is being provided by HTTP, that is get, post, delete, and put. So and once you submit that thing, in back you'll get a response. So whenever you some click, after clicking on the head button, the after processing the request, the server will send you the response. And most of the time, like, it might be a success, it might be a failure, or maybe it might be a username password problem, or maybe an exception problem. So to represent that is everything is went fine or not, we have a state or response code. So generally, and not generally, but it's a rule that if everything is good, you will see 200 response from the server. So that is, it's everything is fine. Or maybe 301 or 303, which is the caching. The request didn't went to the server, said server just returned the same data, and so it is okay. 404 means generally it's a file not found. So generally it is something which is the resource which you are looking for, or the object you are looking for, is missing from the server. So that series is called as an 400 series. 200 series is the successful series. Similarly, 500 series will talk about that the resource you are talking about, it's there, but it might be a misconfigured, or the server is not able to handle your request. There is some exception happened handling your request. So request was there, but the command or whatever you are requesting, it is not being done at the server side. So and in that scenario, it will be a 500 series. Then HTTP version, obviously the same version we will be getting, and the request header, it then it being sent from the server itself. Obviously, the content type, what type of response it might be. Maybe just like you click on a link, and let's say there is a PDF link. If you click on the PDF, it will open up a PDF from the server to your browser. But how it is being recognized, so that is where the context type is the header which is being sent. So server might send context type equal to text slash PDF, or text slash CSW. So depending upon that type, your browser will recognize, okay, this is the content or the streaming which is coming from from the server, and I should be opening the desired application and client browse client side. So that is all those things being sent by header itself. And then again, the body, whatever the body. So username and password is success, or maybe there is a problem with your username password. So all those things, messages will come from response body. So this is basically a HTTP request consists of, and these are a broader level, but you should be understanding, okay, these are the things we should be. Important point is like the status response code 400, 200, and 500, and these verbs which we called as in get, post, delete, and put. So these two things are the major important thing in term of implementing of service using REST. So one major important thing in comparison with the SOAP and REST is, the REST is stateless, web service. So when I say the stateless is like everything work independently, and whatever being done in the past, it would not be remembered for the next request itself. So those are the major thing from in term of statelessness. If you read here also, it is so web service can be treated in one minute. Mouse. Yeah. So web service can be treated each method. So web service can treat each method request independently. Web service need not maintain the client previous interaction. So if you think of a banking site, or maybe the Gmail, best example is the banking. So they specifically say you don't click on the back button or something, or do not refresh and all those stuff. So why they have mentioned all those things? Because server maintains some key to have to track the how that interaction is going on first. The second, it should confirm that the same client is being connected to the server each time. If it sense there is a problem, why, and or it feel, the server feel that okay, the request now is coming is different from the previous thing, it log out you. It says the session expire, or you might have click on the back button. So how are all those things being maintained? That is being maintained to have the state of what is being interacted. Wherein if for REST, it doesn't mean like it doesn't maintain any state of what is being interacted and what is the previous interaction being happened with the server. So that is where it says that web servers need not to maintain the client previous interaction. It simplifies the application design, because if you are not maintaining that session, obviously how would server know about that, say the same client is interacting? Obviously it will be some key or token or something being refreshed and sent it every time to the from the server to the client, and client is sending back the same thing to you, and that is what it has happening. We generally called in different language, we called in salt token or something else. So if you're not sending all those things, obviously your application design will get simpler. It's just like you are publishing something, whomsoever wants to read it, go ahead and read it and get your work done. The server is least bothered about it, who is interacting and how they are interacting, right? And that is where it's simple, and that is where it's consume less bandwidth. The third point is, as HTTP is itself a stateless protocol, REST web services work seamlessly with HTTP protocol, and that is where it work on the HTTP protocol. So the disadvantage of statelessness is that the web service needs to get an extra information in each request and then interpret to get the client state in the case of client interaction are to be taken care of. So stateless, the first and the major drawback is the same which I explained, like in banking services or wherever you want to maintain the state of a client, it cannot be possible. And if it is not possible, so you can and you are not able to track your client, so it would be very difficult for you to maintain security, or maybe implement something which is secure in term of what is being passed and you are sending the correct information to the correct client. You are not being hacked, so like the session tampering or maybe hijacking of a current session of a client. So all those things can be avoided if you maintain a state, but if you're not maintaining a state, that cannot be maintained, and that's a major drawback of this. So that is where as I said in the previous classes as well, that stay REST is generally used wherein it's a not, don't take my word layman term, but just to explain you that if there is a one-way communication, the server is coming, the client is coming, reading some information, doing some operations, and going back. If those kind of things are there, then the rest is the best thing to get it implemented, wherein you are publishing some information and doing a simple transactions and all those stuff. Otherwise, the SOAP is the best one, and that is where whenever comes the concern of the security, more reliability, more robustness, the SOAP is the first preference and the choice for in terms of web services, and that is very limited to 10-20% of the total web. I can say 10-20%. The rest of the things, what we do in today's world, like social media engineering, social media sites, and all those stuff. So most of the things are coming into the REST web services, wherein they are publishing something, you are consuming something, kind of thing. So now we going slowly deeply into the technical part of web services, the RESTful web services, how to implement all those things. So to implement REST web services, the annotation is the major part, and it play an important role in term of implementing a REST services. Annotation, I believe you all know. So basically, just to give a quick recap about annotation, annotation is something you are, it is predefined. It's not being given by JDK itself, but you can you have, or maybe you have the library which says okay, with the start of at the rate, so at the rate some keyword, and if you mention that thing, that particular thing will be taken care of by at the runtime itself, and the rules will be applied. So those are the annotations, and it's very useful thing, because when you develop a major code, or the huge code, and work in the very distributed and heterogeneous environments, it is very hard and difficult to remembering, okay, I'm doing correct. Maybe the best example is the override and all those stuff. If you do an override and you are not aware of, maybe you misspell the function or the method, It might not work and you think that it's working and we are two heads up. So to avoid all those things, it's basically the annotations comes into the picture. So here also, to implement the REST web services, we have fixed annotations, fixed keywords for that, which you can use to implement and which needs to be get used actually. So basically, the first is the path, @path, and all these things provided by the Jersey or the rest libraries, which will implement, which will help you to implement actually the REST web services. So the first part is the @path, which is used to specify the relative path of class and method. We can get the URI of the web services by scanning the path annotation value. So basically, the path is where you want your web service to get recognized. So when I say, let's say, google.com/ABC. So if I want to recognize my web service after domain, I want to recognize, okay, ABC. So then I would be using this tag @path. So your file might be with stuff. So we will go through that detail in later point of time. I don't want to get you confused. So path, just remember that the path on which you want to recognize your web service would be the path. We'll use the tag @path. Then the for method which we have, that get, put, post, add, delete, and head. So that for file method actually, with the use of @, you can those method on which you will put this annotation will behave in that manner itself. So those are the five methods which we generally use. The two other ones are the producer and consumes. So produce and consumes, like if you uh, with the name itself, it specify if you use the produce, it's kind of the web service which is producing or which is serving you will have the produce tag. Similarly, the client, the if you have created the client to consume that basically web service or the output, you will be using @consume tag for that. So it as in mentioned also used to specify the rest, so specify the request and the response type. The last one, there are more than that which I mentioned here, but these are the majorly few tags which you should be using and you will use actually most of the time. So that's where I want to discuss the major one as well. So the next one is the path param. So it's a path param means just like the parameter if you want to pass. So let's say that I take an example. I'm having an employee with the employee code 100 and I want to delete that, or maybe I want to update that. So I need to pass the employee name, or maybe the whatever the method you have /ID. So I need to pass. So URL just to give an example, the URL might look for employee/100. So your whatever you do at the business logic level, it will work. But you in the path you will be seeing, say, something like employee/100. So that if you want to accept a parameter and do something with it, so to facilitate that, we have path param, which is used to bind the method parameter to path value by passing it. So these are the few important tags, annotations, which we will be using while creating REST web service. Now, this is a quick slide which we use for SOAP and REST web services. And frankly speaking, I did not created it. I picked it from one of the site, which is tutorial. It's a good site. You can go ahead and read it about it. So it's a quick comparison between the two. The first is the SOAP is a protocol, REST is an architectural style, which we discussed. The full form of the both, simple object access protocol, and the representational state transfer. The third is SOAP can't use REST because it's a protocol, but the REST can use SOAP web service because it's a concept and can only protocol like HTTP and SOAP. The fourth one is SOAP use service interface to expose the business logic. As I told you, I explained yesterday also, we generally only the interface is being exposed. So the contract or the agreement is the visual, and the two services or the two system will talk to each other use with the help of interfaces, and because interface provide you a layer to hide your business logic. So you're not exposing your actual business logic, you are just exposing an interface with some names, and that's it, with the parameter what it required. What it is doing inside it, you are not exposing that. REST use URI to expose business logic. So that's as I told you that employee slash 100. So it's give you a sense. Okay, I'm playing something with the employee number 100 and all this stuff. The fifth is the JAX. WS is the Java API for SOAP web service, wherein JAX RS is the Java API for REST web services. So for REST it's RS, for SOAP it's WS, and we have different library to get it implemented. So defined standards to be strictly followed, and that's the important point, and that's the major difference between the two. If you want to use SOAP, you need to follow those standards by the core, otherwise it will not work. Whereas the REST does not define too much of standards like SOAP. It has the basic rules and few methods over it, and then you can use completely do that on those. And that's a trade-off actually. REST is meant to be easy doing and readily available, all time available, and low bandwidth kind of data transmission and all those stuff. But in SOAP require, because SOAP is having all those restrictions, it's a more secure way to get the data transmitted. The seventh is the SOAP require more bandwidth and the resource than REST. Obviously, with the help of sixth point, we can get it understood that yes, because it's having more things to be get done, so that it will require more network bandwidth and the resource. Wherein the second one is the REST required less bandwidth and the resource than SOAP. So that's the difference. If is SOAP define its own security, REST web server inherited security measure from the underlying transport, and that is where that is where, because it use the HTTP itself, or maybe you can implement your business logic securities at the business logic layer only, or maybe some validation layer. So that's the only security we will be having. SOAP permit XML data format only. That's a major constraint on SOAP. You will have only XML to be transmitted, wherein then REST we have options available within plain text, HTML, XML, JSON, and all those things. The last one is the SOAP is less preferred than REST, and that is where, because as I told you, because it require more things to be get done, and because of more costly in term of bandwidth and the resources, SOAP is very limited, and that is where it is now being used when it required to be it's being required, and major requirement in terms of on security, and major is the security actually, security, and wherein you want to maintain a state and do those things. But in REST, because everything is being shut off by REST is only meant to be at faster data transmission, and that is where the REST is more preferred than SOAP. And today's word, because of you can think of the social media and all those stuff, Twitter and those things, they require more data to get transmitted, and it's a one-way communication only. And if let's say someone track it or maybe trap it, it can be changed later point of time. It doesn't hamper anything. But wherein if you are withdrawing your money and something, you are withdraw 1,000 and it shows you 10,000 withdrawal, or maybe you are withdrawing something and money is getting transferred to someone else's account, that's a major problem actually. So that is where if those points are there, prefer SOAP, otherwise REST will do your work. So that is the major differences between the two. So yeah, so that completes the theoretical part of this REST and SOAP actually. So we will be now moving to how to develop our REST, what all are required for REST. And this is Oracle site, obviously, because Oracle is owning this. So this is an Oracle site. It's a good read about the REST web service. It explains those things, those concepts in very detailed way. What I have picked. So I picked a few of the things from here itself, and this is the important thing: REST web services. If you go here, it will define it. It has the more detailed way. We'll be going through all those things, but what I explained, the get, put, delete, post, head, and options, and all those stuff. So you can read in more detail and granular way from the Oracle itself. about the jersey also. That's a library which we'll be using, so you can go ahead and read it about it. So it's a good read. You can always for Java you can always go for docs.oracle.com and you will be getting all those things. Right. So now moving to this code level, how to implement and how to do all those things. So before moving it, I just give a recap about it. To implement, as I told you, for REST, we have a Jersey. So you need to have the Jersey library file. So you need to go to Google and search it about the Jersey actually. So, so you can download the Jersey. So you can go ahead and Eclipse Jersey. You can download it from here, or maybe you can go ahead and download the complete library. So once you download the library, you will be having those jars, which already downloaded, and so you will be having this kind of zip. You can just go ahead and download it and unzip it, and you will be seeing this API extended in the library. So in this thing, you will be getting these things. So we will be requiring this client, server, servlet, core, API, and AMS. So these are the main five, four, five jars which we will be using, and it's easy to remember because you are creating some server, so it's a Jersey server. Then you will be consuming something as from the client. You might be, so you need a client for that. Then because it's used internal servlet mapping, so it should be a servlet. So that is where the servlet jar you will be requiring. And beneath it, there might be a common things, common libraries which can be used. So that is being put in the Jersey core. So these are the five libraries. And then this is the API which will provide these annotations and all this stuff, and the ASM. All those things you will get in this RI, and you can get it from the Jersey side. You can go ahead and download it and download it and get the things done. So once you copy it on your laptop, what you need to do here is either the two way. One is you can go ahead, right click, properties. It will open up this preferences window, and then you can go ahead and type the build. Just type a build path. So it will show you these kind of things. So from here you can add it. So because we are using Apache, I have showed the Apache. So you see it's showing that Apache everything library here. It will show you even the path from where it's referring to, from my system or from your system. Similarly, you can go ahead and just go ahead and add a library from here. Do a plugin dependencies, click next, and you can go ahead and add it. Or the easiest way is you have this lib folder, and just you need to just copy those libraries and just paste it here, and you will see the library here. So before doing that, so this is more about Jersey. So you will be requiring Jersey libraries or the jars to implement your REST web services.
Nishant,
So
can you show me the website for downloading the Eclipse
sure. So
Enterprise?
this is the Eclipse path. Sorry, Eclipse Jersey. You just need to type Jersey REST library or download, and it will take you the first site is the Jersey GitHub. From here you can get it, or you can download the bundle also. You just need to give a JXRS bundle download. You will get a Jersey GitHub page, and you need to go ahead and download it. So from where, whatever way you will get those bundles. There are multiple options available. Like this is the good site jar.com, jar-download. This is a good site. It provides the jars for the dependencies which Java code need. So the official site is this one for Jersey, which is the Eclipse Jersey. You can go ahead and download it and get it done.
No,
And
I'm
the
asking for
instructions.
Eclipse Enterprise version.
Eclipse, I didn't get it. So okay, so you want to know about the from where you need to download Eclipse, right?
Yeah, Eclipse, yeah, Enterprise version.
And okay, so I think eclipse.org is the site. If I Eclipse enterprise one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the eclipse.org. That's a standard site. Yes, that's what I remember. So from here you can download the whatever the version you want. You can go ahead and download it from here itself.
Where is
So
it? Can
I'm
you go a little
yeah
bit down?
yeah that those are the links, right? 32-bit,
Okay.
64-bit for Mac OS, for Linux, Ubuntu. You can go it from here. So you can download it from here. So you'll get everything from here actually. And this is for ID for Java J2E developer. So basically, I'll give you a brief about it. So I explained the very first day that Eclipse is a neutral ID. It was meant to develop the code. Then most of the company inherited that. So they use the Eclipse as a base and they tweak it for their languages itself. So when you use Eclipse for Java, so you will be seeing Eclipse ID for Java only. Like right now we are working on this J2E, so this version is the Eclipse ID for J2E, that is AE enterprise developers actually. Similarly, for if you work for PHP, you will be seeing Eclipse ID for PHP. And if you want to download a core version out of it, you can download plain Eclipse. Then you need to install those plugins. So there are two ways. So one is, if you see here from the preferences, if you see here, it's meant for Java. So you will see the this is Java. So you will see all the options which are readily available for the Java itself here. But if you download those, what do you say, the plain version, you will not be finding all those things majorly here, actually. So you need to choose what you want to download. These are the Eclipse. So Eclipse packages. If you click on it, it will show you all the packages available here. So Eclipse for Java developer, Eclipse for Java and web developers. So this is the core for Java. It is for Java core only. If you want to install with Java with J2E, you need to download this one. Similarly, for if you go for C sharp, so this is the C sharp one. This is for DSL servers with the Java. This is PHP developers, Eclipse. So basic the core point is Eclipse ID is the standalone one. They have customized it for the different languages so that it would be easy for you. You need not to go ahead and download the plugins, different plugins, and download and install at your end. You just go ahead, click the flavor, download depending upon your operating system. Just if you download it as an exe, it will be a next button, or if it's a zip, then you just need to download unzip at the required place. The preferred required place to install this thing, it's the best way if you download in and install in your document like this one, this document section
Icon is a
actually.
little bit different. I actually tried the same website, but the icon is a little bit different from yours.
Yeah, maybe because I am using, I think, Oxygen version, and you might, because if you have downloaded now, it might be a different version for you. Mine one is a little bit different. It is an older one, I think 2 year older. Mine version is this 19th, 2019 June, which is 4.1.2. I think it's a Oxygen version, and I think nowadays I think Neon is the name they have given for the new ID. So it doesn't matter if you have the local, if you have the latest version, it doesn't matter anything. You can go ahead and check it about from here itself, help down
Okay.
about, and then you can download from here. If it is greater than 4x, then it's okay. You might be having 4.13 or maybe 4.14 maybe.
Okay. Okay.
So the important point here is for Java training, you should be using this one, which is having Java J2E. Like
Okay.
this ID is having enterprise Java and the web developers. So it is having all the things. You can see the differences itself. Everything is there. So you should be using this one. And I think the size maybe I think 200 MB, something 250 MB, I guess, if I'm not wrong. So this if you see my this area, when I do a match over here, you will see that the complete path, it says zip. It's a zip file. So you need to download it and unzip somewhere in your document, or maybe the best part. So let me explain now. We are into here. I want to share one best practice is, see, generally we all 90% use Windows. I'm having a different flavor also. I use Ubuntu in my second reboot in this system also. But I assume majorly we use Windows. It's best always. See, my C is installed. C drive, my Windows is installed, and I'm not using anything important for my C drive. I left the C drive for Windows itself. I created a separate partition in the same hard disk with a name called W, and here I installed everything. So my Eclipse is installed here in itself. What's the benefit which will what's the benefit I'll be getting if I am doing so? So one day, let's say you are putting everything important here in the C drive itself, and then one day your system got crashed, or maybe Windows is getting crashed. You know that it crashes frequently, and you need to reinstall, or maybe you need to format it. You lose all your data. All your data will go. And if you follow this structure, always have a separate drive and place all the important document and everything in the separate drive itself. Now in my case, if let's say my window get corrupted, I will not lose anything from OS. This is my Unix, which is for Windows. This is for my common drive, and this is my Windows drive. Now, if I want to reinstall or maybe uninstall anything, I just need to touch my C drive. Rest of the things will show up for the next window as well. So I'll not lose anything. So in my case, I have installed everything. I have put everything important thing in my W drive, which holds only document and the codes itself, nothing else. So that's the best practice which I wanted to share. And if you have that flexibility, go ahead and install everything here. Otherwise, you have no choice. Then you can go ahead, the best place to put it in the document itself. That is where you can create it. So I hope I answered your question.
Prashant, thank you.
Thank you. So moving ahead, yeah. That's the important thing. You need to download the jersey. So we need three things. One is JDK, we all have that. The other one is Eclipse ID, we all have that. The third important thing is we need to have a jersey libraries which you can download from Google itself. And after downloading, you can go ahead and copy it to the library section. So when you where you will get this library folder, so this is my test2 folder, which is test2 project, which is actually a dynamic project. So you need to just create a new from here and dynamic web project, and create a dynamic web project. When you do a dynamic web project, I'm just showing you just this lib one. Right. So once you click on this, so just click on the next button and you will be getting a dynamic project. So once your dynamic project get installed, by default you will be getting this web content, and under web content you will be having a lib folder. So what you need to do, you just need to copy that lib folder from here. That's the easiest way. Otherwise, what you need to do, you need to click it here, go to the properties, go to the build, just type a build here. It will be showing a build path. You will be reaching to the libraries and add the libraries from here itself. So what I can do here, I can go here and click on it and do a next button, and then I can select the libraries. So user libraries from here. Okay, sorry, not this one. Here, reaching to system libraries. Next, and then okay, I'm not having that. I guess plugin server runtime. No, this not. Okay, I'm not having that. The I need to install maybe. Okay. So I'm not having that plugin readily available for me. I need to go ahead and add it from using the external jars. I can go ahead. So that's the best way. What you need to do is external jars, add external jars. It will open up a window for you. And then this is my downloaded JAX RS. And I go ahead and I selected it. Deselect and just click on the open button. And because I have clicked it, it's there. So it will open a JAX WSRS for you. So that way you can go ahead and install your library folders, but it is required actually. It will, if you will not require, if you will not install, you will get warnings and the methods for implementing it. That's the first important thing. The second thing, you should be having the server. Obviously, because we have been working since long now. I assume we all have Apache Tomcat with us. Now, how to create a Java this REST APIs. So now you need to remember this PPT for path actually one. Path. Not so message REST. So these are the important things: the path, get, put, delete, produce, consume, and path parent. So we will be using it. So, uh, so now, so let's say I've now in this example, I've just it's a same basic example which is doing a conversion from conversion from one like feet to inch and inch to feet. So that's a simple example. So important thing is you need to focus on these the concept of annotation for REST web services. So whatever the web service, whatever the function or maybe the business logic which you want to expose, what you need to do here is, let's say I'm having this class and I want to expose it. So let me take the simple one first to explain you. We'll go a lot of time for that. So just focus on this. So the first and the very most part, if you refer this, these are the libraries which we use actually, right? And this will be provided by the RS itself. That is the jersey. Once you install that jersey, you will be having this import readily available with you. And if you see that Jex WSRS get, Jex WSRS path, param, reduce, and media. We'll understand about the media what it does talk about, but we read about it in this PPT, right? Path, get, produce, consume, path, param, and all those stuff. So we have these things. Now that's the important thing you will be getting from the JEX libraries itself. RS libraries itself with the jersey. Now understand the the URL. Let me go to the browser here. I'll show you one thing here. Yeah. If you see here, for any type of URL, we have this kind of. So if you see here, this is the protocol. HTTP is the protocol, and this is the standard one. This is where your server is running. In our case, it's localhost colon AT is the colon. So that's the easy thing which we all understood now. Now that's the test two, which is basically a project name. Which with the name which we have created this project, which I call a test two. That is test two. Now, this is the important thing which we will understand. So leave this rest as of now. But if you see here, it says this part: conversion service slash say hello. So that means your URL will be like this. So you are having something like this conversion. So whatever your web server, wherever your yeah. So wherever your service or is running, which is running on the HTTP localhost test and rest will you explain. But this is where your service is running. But this is the path on which you are finding that service, that web service, REST web service is running, and with the name of conversion service. So from where it is coming? So it is coming from here itself. If you see now, that's a path. So what you do, you at the rate path, as you do the path, right? It will, yeah, I'm having this, that's where I just want to show. So this is the path, and this path will define, if you see here, string Java lang, Java value. So this is the value where you will give the path. So this is the path which will be recognized with this JAX RS library. So what this JAX RS library will do, they will read this annotation with the name path, and whatever is written inside it, it will assume that thing as a path on which you want to run your web service, at this best web service. If I go ahead and give this one also, it will be a path. Then the URL will become like this actually. So this will be the URL. That's how it will work, right? So that's a very first step. If I am using this path one, I am defining, okay, this below class will become my web service. So all the web service will come here now. Now this is the simple class, whatever the name you want to give. Now again, this is the path. You have used the path annotation with the class reference. Now I'm using the path the same with the method reference. So that means my service will have this path, this one, and this will get exposed. So now if you see here, this is the simple function. This is a simple method which is returning a string with the name as in hello. But I don't want to expose the name of my method to the external world. So I have used say hello. So now the URL, what the URL will you if you want to understand it. So in your mind, what will be the thing is it would be HTTP, and then whatever the server and the port you are running on, that will happen. Then because you have given the path of a web service as in class level this one, so this will become the root of it. Obviously there will be something, and that's something I'm just leaving it as such. We'll read about it what will come here now, but then at the end you will see, okay, this is the conversion service, and then after that you are using, okay, this method is having with the path as well say hello, so it will come as in from here say hello. So you will be having this kind of thing. So in your mind you are very clear about it, okay, this will become my web service path from here to here, and then this after that I will be calling this say hello, right? So that is the first thing. The second one is get, because I'm not posting anything, I'm not updating anything, I just want to read the data. So if I want to read the data, say just to read that data or do something, so get is the best thing. So go ahead and use the get. So that is where we use the get here. Now produce is something we read out about it here in this PPT also. This produces and consumes. So as the name suggests, produce, because this is a web service. Obviously the web service, so it will produce something. Whatever it will produce, it should have some context type. So if you remember, as I explained also here, for header, it will show, it has a few things: content length, content type. So this is the content type. As I explained you, that content type will define what type of what type you are getting in the browser. So the browser will read this content type, and depending upon what is mentioned inside it, maybe text slash JavaScript, text slash CSS, text slash PDF, text slash XLS. So it will open that particular application from your local system. So that is where it is the produce. So now this section will define what is the context type you are returning to the client. If you see here, there are standard of things dot media type dot, and if you see here, it's a these many things are readily available. These are the context type which is there. So generally, so if you see here, we can return the JSON, any stream. These are the for streaming things. You can leave it as such. This is the XML, this is HTML, this is the XML, this is the text HTML, plain text, plain XML. So if you see, these are the things which will read by your browser. And if you see the value text.xml, that's what I was talking about. If you read here, if you click on HTML, it will say text slash HTML. So the browser at your side will read this one, and it says, okay, HTML coming to me, it will open a browser for you to open that particular output which is coming from server. So that's the important thing. So depending upon whatever you want, you can go ahead and select it. So in this case, we have selected text.html, text HTML. So that's what the thing is. So three things, easy thing. So first is choose the class, define the path, whatever the name you want to give for your web service. Second, choose the method, whatever you want to expose, define the path for that, the protocol, the method in through which you want to access it, and the last one is the media type, is the text and HTML. So that's how it will you'll get. So easy. Now if you now that is done. So we'll read. I'll go ahead these things later part of time. But this is the simple way. I hope this till now it's very clear. It's a simple thing. The important thing is path, which will for your web service, for your method, and then get whatever the method you want to use it, and the output produce whatever the produce what type of your production you have. So that is done. Now we'll move one more important thing. Once that is done, then you have a web.xml in your dynamic web project. So by default, you will be having something like this. By default, in your at your web server web XML, you might be having this thing, something like this. So now you need to. This is something we need to understand, and this is a standard which we will be using. So display name. So display name is the name what web service name you want to give in term of just to display whenever the web service is being discovered. The title, you can say title. So title of your web service. It's don't get confused with the path or the or whatever you have given. It's a title for your web service. The second is the standard. This is the standard. You can just remember it. You can go get it on the Jersey side itself. So no need not to remember by heart, but obviously you can read it or maybe you can note it down. So this says Jersey Restful Web Service, whatever the name of the servlet we want, and this servlet will be provided by Jersey itself. If you see, it's com sun Jersey. SPI container servlet server container. So they say basically this is the service servlet class which will generate a servlet for you. Get it, run it by on UI itself. Then initial parameter. These are again the standard thing. Param main. But now the important point here is this. So what does this 4-line mean? This 4-line mean that this pick this class, pick this what do you say, the packet. So pick this packet, and inside this packet, whatever the annotation you are getting. So now if you see yeah, in this test 2, this is the package name which I have defined. So control will go here. And now because of these 3 lines, because it's a Jersey thing, what it will do, it will scan this package. It will, after scanning this package, it will read those annotations. So what it will do, it will scan this one. So after scanning it, it will get, okay, path is there, okay. At the class, I see this path annotation, and then I see that this is the name. Okay, then what will happen? Internally, it will map saying that, okay, this is the service which the developer want with the name to be exposed as a conversion service. It will get it noted down. Then it will scan the rest of the things. It will say, okay, this is the method available, hello there. Now this is again the path, and path is having some value. Okay, so for this REST service, this for whenever there is a call for say hello, I will be calling this public method, this hello method. Okay, then what is the what it will produce? It will produce a text HTML. Okay, so whatever the written value this method is providing, I will be converting it as an text HTML and then returning to the client, and it will be called as a get. So that's what the scanning the Jersey will do. So this is, you have defined Jersey do all those things and scan my package. And in package, automatically wherever the annotation you have used, whatever the annotation you have used, it will internally build your grammar for that, so that whenever there is a call, it will call this respective things. Clear? Now the mapping. Now here comes the mapping. Yeah.
In the URL, if you see after the there's a
line number. You can say the line number 26.
No, I'm asking about the URL for when you hit the URL http localhost.8080 slash what about the test2 slash rest. So here we are actually using the package. Okay, the test2 only.
Don't get confused with test. Test is for soap. I'm going through this. Just allow me 5 or 10 minutes more. Everything will get clear. I told you na, that leave this angular bracket. Something will come here, and from where it is coming, that I am going to now explain you, and then we'll talk about the URL itself, whatever the URL we have. Right. So just allow me few more minutes. It will be get clear, and then we'll discuss about it.
Okay.
Okay, so what I was explaining here, till now things are clear. So this is the servlet, and this is the scanning which is done. After scanning, it will scan everything, and it will build its own grammar and do a mapping internally. Whatever is being called, it will call the respective correct things. Now the important thing is here. If you see this servlet mapping, and it says that the URL, whatever the servlet name, so you can give whatever the name you want. The important thing is URL pattern. Now this is the pattern which talks about this will fill here this rest, as I said, rest and slash whatever the thing is. So this will fill up this space here actually, right? And this will, okay, one thing more, it's a project, so project name will come here. That's the project name which is running inside it, because you have chosen the name as a rest over there, so the rest will come here, followed by the path of your class, and then followed by the method. And this is how it will work. If I go ahead and give a only slash here, then what will happen, this rest will go away and the URL will become like this. So this web.xml is something important which needs to be understood, so that you are aware of what all was there. So so this I hope this is now clear. So these are being provided by the Jersey. This is the important point from here, from your perspective. Whatever you have as a package, you need to mention it from here, and then whatever the URL you want to build it, you need to mention it here. That's the standard thing which you will get, and it is mentioned in the Jersey document itself. This is how the web.xml will be created. So now please tell me, what's your question now?
Now I got Nishant. I was asking like what is that test2/rest. So
Okay,
as you told,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Now I got it.
So that's where internally. So what I have explained till now, it's an internal function that will be provided by Jersey, and it will do all those things on your behalf. You just need to mention these annotations, plus take care of this, mentioning the correct directory or correct package which needs to be scanned, and then followed by the URL, whatever the URL you want to have. Once you did all those things, so like in this, let's say I'm not going beyond it, I'm just referring to this. So this is the only web service which I did and mentioned the web XML. Once it's done, what you need to do is just go ahead, and one way is to export it, just like to export as a WAR file and then save it somewhere, and then open this what do you say, Apache this one, where it goes, software Apache, then inside Apache web app, and then you just go ahead and deploy, just copy that var to here. The second way, the easiest way is just right click on it, do a run as, and click it on a server. So just click it on a server. So it will ask you, and just click on finish. So it will open a browser for you. Then you need to update it depending upon it. So I am having that readily available. If you see here, test2 is that's what I was explaining. This is the server where my things are running. Test2 is the project name, because it's a test2. So it's a test2, it's a project name. The other one is the rest. The rest will come from the web.xml, whatever you have given here, rest.xml, and then followed by the conversion service, which will come from whatever the path you have given here, and then followed by whatever the function you need to follow. So I'm just not touching this. I'm having that thing, and you can, the same thing you can open on the browser itself. So that is where the browser, and if I go ahead and click on it, it will show you, hello, how are you? And similarly, if I go ahead and make it as an HTML to maybe text JSON, I'm not having that JSON, but maybe XML. Let's say I will talk about XML. If I change it to XML, I just did a Control S. Everything will be taken care automatically, because I'm running it as a project as an did automatically. So everything will be getting installed and deployed automatically from the backend by the Eclipse ID. I just need to go ahead and do it from here. And if you do here, okay, so it's not able to render actually. Some problem happened, but it is where when I was doing using the XML. Similarly, if I go ahead and do it as a plain here, underscore PLAIN plain. Now again it will be test completed. So see, there is a font difference, so it's a plain text. So that is how you have created a simple web service using REST APIs.
Why you didn't
So
run the text.html?
No, text.html was there, I think. HTML. Right? Yeah, it's working. It's deployed. No, it's with HTML. If I show you the maybe view source, it should show something.
Basically, web service is like when one application wants to communicate with the other application. So how will that particular application will get to know this URL to
Yes,
access
yes.
the other application?
So for that, as I told, one is there are two type of web services available. Obviously, as a producer, you need to publish it, right? You need to publish it somewhere. So let's say if I take two example. One is internal. So one is, let's say, finance department is wants to talk to HR department, which is very common thing happening. Now internally, let's say finance department developed some web service with some URL. So internally, they need to provide that URL and that documentation to HR department saying that, hey, they refer this document, these are the URL and these are the steps which you need to follow to consume my web service, and this is what you will get. So there is a standard document available for each of the web services internally given by finance to HR. Similarly, if the web service is open to internet also, you will be having that readily available and you need to study those. So one thing you have heard about AWS certification. I think this is very popular nowadays. So what does it mean? So what Amazon did is Amazon created few web services, not few, many of the web services, and they have published those things online with the good document altogether. So when a person is saying, hey, I'm a AWS certified, what does it mean? It means that they have a good knowledge about the web services which are being provided by Amazon, so that if let's say as an industry, as a company, I want to implement something and I want to use AWS web services because I don't want to create from scratch. I just want to consume all those things. So I'll hire that AWS expert, and because they know what service is being like, what all the services are available, how to use them, how to consume them. So all those things that person can do. Just like on a common days, I took an example for that Ola, Uber, or maybe the location mapping, right? In our location mapping also, what is happening? Google is providing a map service which is open for all, and they have provided a good document out of it. So but and I know about it. So let's say I want to develop an application wherein I want to use that GPS location thing, kind of thing. I don't want to I need not to launch a satellite for me to do all those things. I just go read that document about Google Map service. I'll understand it. Okay, this is the URL, these are the parameters which I need to give, and I'll use that and I'll get the response and I'll use in my application. So that is the way which is being communicated. Those are two things. Internally, if it is happening, you need to provide a one-to-one documentation, a detailed documentation about it. The second one is it's openly available, just like a Google, Amazon web services, but you need to read those documents first to consume that service. So that's the thing actually.
Okay. Sometimes it can, if suppose it is published like this, it can even be misused, right? Maybe.
Obviously. So yes, definitely. So it is, see, it's kind of producer responsibility. They should develop the thing in such a manner that it should not be exploited, right? So that is where they are having all those checker and balance, and these are and see, the best example is, if I talk about the terrorism, the Google Map service is being used by Ola, Uber also. The Google Map services is being used by us also, but and it is also being used by terrorists also. So, but it all depends how you consume. It's just like, in a layman term, if I want to explain, if I'm going to McD, I'm buying a burger, I can eat it. That's a good point. I can get it and give it, donate to some needy child. That's a good thing. Or I can buy it and then I throw it on the on streets, wasting the food. So that's a choice which the consumer needs to take. But Amazon, but this MACD made sure that all the three burgers are with the same thing, same quality. It is meant to be consumed for a healthy purpose, not to waste on the street. So similarly, it's all depend upon who is the consumer. But yes, there should be checker and balancing and validation and all those things, and that's what the Google is doing. They are having, if they recognize there, I'm not pretty much sure, but they have those certainties things. If the IPs are being misused, they keep on tracking all those things. And if they say that, if they see that IP is doing some nonsense kind of thing and all those things, they can go ahead and block that IP also. So those are the things which Google internally is doing, but you cannot 100% control it, right? The power has both the side. It can be good or it can be bad. It all depend upon who is the consumer actually.
Because since you told Google as an example, suppose even like ATMs also can be one of the
Yes,
examples, right? So
yes,
in
yes.
that case, because it is like banking, the account, it's a very crucial data. So
Yes,
maybe there should be more, the protection. So here, I don't know
yes.
how it is being handled there.
No. So from for ATM, for online banking, whatever you do, because I'm from the banking industry, there are thousands of checks over there to make sure that the money is not landing up to in wrong hands. But yes, obviously, see, the thing is, uh, you can place a control over one something, and there are multiple validations over there. The soap is the best example. Soap is being used in such kind of transactions with the state from where it is coming, and there are fraudulent checks over there. There are securities measures over there. There are controls who is using my web service. So there are a check wherein you can create a group and define access depending upon read and write and all those stuff. So there are multiple checks, but obviously you cannot be 100%. There is nothing 100% in this word in any of the context. So there are happening, there are 1% of fraud happened, but there once it's happened, then we go ahead and check it and place a new control over it. But be rest assured, these are the things which need, there are trade-off, right? We if you frauds were there actually. If you go to the bank and then also someone copy your hand, what you call signatures, then also the fraud can happen. So it happened, but the controls are there, and there are stringent controls over there. We, as from the BFSI industry, I can say is that we always believe it's better to be safe than sorry. So I can go ahead and deny with if you are withdrawing a money from your ATM, I can deny that thing 10 times. If I suspect that something fraudulent is happening, that is okay with me. But I cannot go ahead and do all the 10 times I allow you to withdraw things, right? So that's another check which is there. So there are thousands of check, but obviously yes, 1% is the thing wherein you cannot go ahead and control all the things. Otherwise, we will be, we will become God for that then. So
So which means soap will be used in that case.
yes, yes. Whenever, as I told you, both have trade-off. If the security is concerned, if you want to maintain a state communication, blindly go ahead with soap. And that's where in banking also, for ATMs, for money withdrawal, for money transfer and all those stuff, soap is the only thing which is being used. That's for sure. Rest
Okay.
is just like just withdrawing a statement, or maybe downloading a statement, or maybe you want to see some pamphlet or something like that. So then rest can be used. But transactionals data, the soap is being used. That's for sure. Any money
Even,
movement transaction data.
okay. Even like this GPay, Paytm,
Yes,
everything.
yes, yes, definitely, definitely.
Oh,
Now, see, I'm not having those are the payment systems, but obviously, there is they might be having something internal, but from the outsider world, soap is the only thing they should be using it, and they might be using it. That's for sure,
okay.
because from where I'm coming from, we always use soap. That's the only thing which we have actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So moving ahead with this now. So once it's done, I hope it's clear now. We'll be moving ahead with one important thing, wherein if you want to pass parameters, just like if you create a form and you enter username and password and click on the submit button, you are passing your username and password to the Google or maybe the whatever the server. Similarly, when you create a REST also, as I said that you can go ahead and uh, pass the parameters also. So this is the second function. So if you see here now, the only difference with the path, if you see, this is the path and this is also the path. This path had nothing outside it, it's just a URL or the name. But here also, if you see, it's a curly bracket and I. This indicate that you are passing something. If you remember, and if you have noticed ever in your life, there are multiple examples where you see that the URL, you see some URL like this, that this is, then it's a question mark and then ID equal to something, then ampersand, ampersand, then name equal to something like this. So you might have seen these kind of things. So what does it mean? It means that after question mark, these are the key value pair you are passing, wherein the ID is the key and the value is 12. Similarly, the ID is name and value is Nishkant. So that is how the key value pair you are passing, and that's where the URL comes into the picture in term of get. So if you are using the get protocol, you will be seeing these kind of thing in your URL. Similarly, here also, this, if I want to have implemented these kind of things, so I need to, so how to pass it, you can go ahead and have a curly bracket I over there. Then because you are, now what does it mean? Now Jersey will say, okay, that means you want to pass something to this method. That means if you are accepting something, you need to get it passed to some method. So you need to change your method also, and that is where this param path, this which we have seen here, param path, yeah, this param path, used to bind the method parameter to the path value by passing it, right? So this parameter, the parameter you are passing. So what does it mean? This is the syntax only. So you are whatever you are passing, whatever the consumer is passing in the URL, that the first argument will become the param path for as an I, because you have chosen as an I as a variable. So you're passing as an I int I, or maybe whatever the way you want, you can change it from here. But this is what the internal mapping will implement. So what Jersey will do, the Jersey will understand this URL path. It will pick the value, whatever the value is coming from here. It will place that value inside this variable, because you have mentioned this thing in path, and that is where, and rest of the things, it's normal. That's what we were doing internally. If you are not using this one, right, if you are not using, that's what the normal functions you would do, right? You pass something and then you are getting something, you are using that variable. Similarly, but you want to use it getting passed from the user side, so that is where the param path you will use. And that's the simple thing. That's a simple conversion. It's a simple math which we do. But the important point here is how to pass the parameters using REST. And that is what you need to use this curly bracket, and then you need to use the param path for this. Okay. Right. So and now the what will be the URL for this? Now the URL, if you say, so we were having this URL earlier. We were using this URL earlier. Now, if you see, now what will be the path? The path say inch to feet. So that will be my URL. Yeah, so that's the method. Now it expect some value. So some value, let's say I have given 100 over here. So that will become my new path for reaching to this method. Now if I go ahead and run it this one, it will call that. So if you see here, inch to feet, I have passed the inch and it is converted to feet, and I'm passing back to the user itself, and it is being passed in XML way, because I have used this as an XML text.xml, and I have written this thing XML over here. If you see here, it's an basically an XML. You will see if you just see like this. So this is how it will look like, right? So that is where it will look like. So this is how you will go ahead and pass the parameter. If I go ahead and remove it from here, because I think I have taken, so if you see, status report not found. Why it is not found? Because it's expecting, because if you are using this, it expects something, you need to pass it from here. something you need to pass, and if you pass it, so it will work. That is how you pass the thing, and you will get the response back. Similarly, this feed to inch also the same thing. So same thing, I go ahead and change the method here and then click on it, so it will change it
Can be
from
any
inch.
number.
Can be any number, can be any number. It all depends upon. So see, it will work. So two things. This logic depends upon you. This is your business logic. I'm not going into the business logic. Whatever you write it here, it all depends. Whatever your requirement might be. But the important point here is to understand from the REST perspective is that this point, that if you want to pass any parameter, you need to change the URL with the curly bracket, whatever the variable you have. Then you need to use this param path annotation, pass the value, this whatever the variable, and define it in some variable that is, and then that's the only thing. So the difference is here. So if you want to just throw out some message, use it this one, just like you need not to pass anything, you just calling it and sending it back. And if you want to consume something, if you want to use accept something from the end user, then you can use this param path, and it will accordingly you need to change the uh, what you said, the value. And that is where when I change it to XML here, it threw out my error. If you see here, earlier now it will show me an error because, see, why it is showing this error, because just click on F12. After doing F12, you will see this kind of console actually. So so if you see here, what the thing I want to show you. See, it says this page contains the following error on the line number, column document is empty. Why it is showing it? Because I am sending the data with as an XML, but I'm not sending the XML data here, right? I'm sending a plain string, and that is where it is not able to handle it. If you that's where I just wanted to show you the response console source where it is. The network application security lighthouse. There was some place I forgot that the response it will show. I just wanted to show you that what's the response we are getting. Okay, maybe leave it. So the basic idea is, because I have not used the XML tag or something like the what we have here. So you can go ahead. I need to something mention here like MSG something, or then close it MSG something like that. This is the method, and I go and just save it, or maybe the XML tag. And now if I let's see, save. Now if you see, it is coming. It picked up as an okay. Now you are passing something like this actually. Right. So this is how and see everything is being appended by the browser and the server itself for you. It's nothing, and the message is coming here actually. So this is how you need to make it sure what you are passing and what the server is expecting. So now it's an XML because I'm passing something. The system is expecting, okay, this is the curly bracket open, curly bracket close, and so it might be XML thing, and then it is accepting as an XML here. So this is how we develop a REST XML. Obviously, we cannot cover everything in one class itself for these web services, but these are the basic thing. You can, as I earlier process also, you can refer the basic point tutorial.com. That's a good site. You can refer it to. And if you want to go more deeper into the technical details about it, so you can go ahead and read it from the Oracle site, official Oracle site itself, like this one. Oracle, they have explained the whatever I have explained, they have explained the same thing, but then in a more detailed way. So we have gone through whatever you are seeing. We have gone through everything from here. We have explained everything from here, whatever it's there. So obviously there are multiple things you need to do more hands-on to practice all those things. But this is the basic thing which completes this REST APIs as well for the web services. So any question or anything I can help here for web services. So So if not, this conclude this REST APIs, REST web service as well. So Nandini, I'm done with.
Thanks, Nishant. So, Kaveri or Divya, do you have any questions for Nishant?
No, Nandini.
All right, thanks then. Have a good rest of the day, everyone.
Sure, thank you, Nandini. And if for any question or any problem, you can always ping me on WhatsApp. I am more than happy to help you out there. So thank you for your time and thank you, Nandini. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Bye.